So now that we've done the plate with the extrusions, we're moving on to something that's going to introduce us to more tools. This is have it as the extrusion with a taper. This is around step 15. You're going to start off, they don't give you dimensions, so I'm going to make up numbers. You can make up whatever numbers you want to. If anything, I'd just go larger than what I'm making up, because some of these tapers take up a lot of space and you don't want to end up with a part that's too small. So just so I have a reference of size, I'm going to go about maybe so this is something that's supposed to sit on a table. I'm going to estimate maybe about 4 inches. And this is just to give me a sense of scale, because really you don't have a sense of scale in Inventor when you get started. Then I'm going to go make a polygon. They're doing it as a pentagon. And I'm going to do this as an inscribed pentagon, so that it's going to have the outer corners touching the circle. There you go. Boop. Alright, done. Okay. So this is the 2D sketch. Now we've done extrusions and revolutions by this point. But now we're going to do an extrusion. It's going to be a little different. So we're going to extrude that shape, but they have it with a taper. So if you go down to the bottom and there's an advanced properties thing, there's something that says taper. Now if we taper it negative 45 degrees per the direction, it's going to kind of push it in there. Now we don't want this to be super, super big. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to make this go up. I don't know, let's see what a 1/4 inch looks like. That looks good. So I was able to create an extrusion, but it kind of looks like a ziggurat or something, and it just goes up a little bit, and it tightens in. Now from there, they're going to have you extrude again, which it won't let you just extrude off nothing. So I'm going to borrow that geometry with project geometry from the lower level. If I highlight the pentagon, now I've got those yellow lines, and I can use those. I just hit E on the keyboard to extrude again. And we want to go up a sizable amount. Again, I'm just estimating from what the picture looks like. So maybe about 2 inches. Let's see if that looks about right. Oop, there we go. So that looks kind of like the picture. There's another way to do it using loft to make another shape. Now what they're doing in their directions, they're saying we're going to make this go from the pentagon to a circle using the feature called loft. And what that means is it's going to create a transition from one shape to another over a given distance. But we need to draw on a space that's not directly touching another part that we already have made. So this is a new function that we haven't done yet. So under plane, I can make a plane, which would be a drawing surface, right on top of this. But we actually need to offset from plane, because we need to offset from that top surface and go up. So just to show it from the side. So that's the drawing surface that we're used to just putting a sketch on, but we're actually going to raise this up. And just judging by that distance, maybe it goes up 1/2 inch. And I'll go 1/4 inch. I'm just trying to match the drawing there. So, okay. So this plane doesn't actually exist in 3D space. It's just for us. But what this will let me do, though, is I can put a sketch on the work plane. See how it highlights that work plane? If I click on that, that's now the surface I'm drawing on. So if I put my circle, I've been using the center point for everything in the middle. I'm going to kind of go out and just touch that, sort of put the circle inside the pentagon. There's no measurement, so I'm just kind of eyeballing it from the picture. Now I've got that circle, and you see how it's sitting above, it's floating above that. So I can loft from here to there. Now let me see, if I go to loft, I can't select that pentagon because it's part of the drawing there. So I'm going to have to put another 2D sketch right here. Now don't forget, when you're doing a 2D sketch, you're on whatever surface it is, so you can see those axes coming off that flat surface. So if I project geometry of that pentagon again, it's not putting it on the closest plane, it's putting it on the surface that is selected. So if I hit finish sketch, I've got that pentagon, which is highlighted in green, and then 1/4 inch above it, I've got the new circle. So now I'm going to do loft. So I want to go from I'm going to go from this pentagon. Oh wait, hold on. Click a sketch to edit. There we go. I guess I can highlight them here or here, but it wasn't letting me select them here, so that's why I did it over here. Just so it has both sketches, and I say OK. So now it's kind of averaged those two together, made sort of a transition. Now this is just me being like pet peeve. I don't like seeing these work planes all the time. So if I right click on it, and you can see it highlights it over here as well, where it says visibility, I can uncheck that, so now it's gone, because I don't really need to see that now. Okay, so we got the pentagon transitioning into a circle. I'm going to put another sketch on top of that circle. And I'm just going to steal the geometry again with project geometry. Make sure that's yellow lines. Those are the ones that I've borrowed. Because the next thing I'm doing is I'll extrude this. Maybe like 1 inch. Okay. And I think their circle goes a little bit smaller than mine does. Whatever. Yours can look different too. So in their steps, on step 20, or 19, sorry, they talk about the shell feature. I'm actually going to do this in a slightly different order, because if we shell first, we'll punch holes in it, which we don't want to do. And I'll show you what that means, what I mean by that in a second. So on the top here, I want to put, they have like a center hole, and then they have some holes going around the outside. They have 5. So I'm going to use a circular pattern so I can take that geometry and rotate it around that circle. We'll just do the 5. Say okay. So I've got these holes. Finish sketch. Alright. So I'm going to do this really quick the wrong way, and I'll do it really quick the right way. So if I do shell right now, I'm in the 3D view, and I click on the bottom, so I can say the thickness is 1/10 of an inch, and I'm removing this bottom face. So now I've hollowed it out. But then if I cut out these, I go cut and say okay. Those are holes that fully exist, and if I were to use it to hold stuff, it would fall into this thing. So I'm going to undo that, I'm going to undo the shell, so it's back to being a solid, and I'm going to cut these into it. So I'm going to cut them in. These are to hold like drill bits and stuff, so let me go about, I don't know, 2 inches in. That'll give us some space. And they say to use a 2-degree taper. It should be flare in though, so that's going to be a negative 2 degree. Okay, so they'll just taper in, and you can kind of see from the side, so they kind of wedge in. And part of this is because if we were forming this on a machine, it would need to have these negative angles in order to come out of the machine. Alright, so we've got that. We got these negative tapers. There's a hole, so if I say okay, but now if I do shell from here, same 1/10 inch thickness, it's going to keep those holes and actually maintain that that space. That the volume of those pockets is still valid. So now I've got that. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do, because I've only got a couple more seconds left of my recording, is I want you to initial the side of it. So text, we'll put some text there, and then make it a bit bigger because you got to keep scale in mind. This exists in real space. So if I want that to be bigger, I need to make it bigger. Sometimes you have to hit escape and double click it again to get the larger font. Alright, so I want that like 3 times as big. Let me just do 1. This might take some fiddling on your part. Is that too big? That's too big. Okay, 1/2 inch is what works. Then I'm going to cut extrude that, and I'm going to run out of time here, but you'll cut extrude. I want this to go in. Not that far though. Alright, let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so I wasn't sure if my recording would go past 10. So I cut extruded this. I cut extruded too far. I'm going to go back into that extrude. The wall thickness was 0.1, so I'm going to do this 5/100ths so I can actually have legible text that doesn't punch through my object here. Oops. So this is the screenshot that I would like from you. So I can see your taper, I can see your loft, I can see the shell, and I can see your text there. So this is going to be your initials here, and hopefully I get those from people, and let me know if you have any questions.